EduMagicians, welcome to the EduMagic podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fessich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of EduMagic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
I'm Jake Miller from the Educational Duct Tape Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect those of others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, EduMagicians, and welcome back to another episode of the EduMagic podcast. My name is Dr. Sam Fessich, and today I have a bonus episode brought to you by my course created with Candace Green called Interview 101 Teacher Edition. You can find more information over at theinterviewadvisor.com/get-started to learn more about this digital self-paced course where we take you from application to signing your contract, and we wish you the best of luck during your teaching interview. All right, so today's episode is with Charles Williams, and in this episode, he's going to share several ways for you to stand out as a teacher candidate when you're interviewing for jobs. This was an Instagram Live I did a couple of weeks ago, so the audio isn't the best, but the content is fabulous. So listen in and check out all these great tips from Charles Williams. Here we go.
Hey, Charles, welcome.
Hey, Sam, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, so today we're talking all about interviews for our student teachers who are graduating in like a month or maybe sooner. How can they stand out from that stack of resumes and all that? So before we jump in, Charles, I know you do so much. I don't even know where to start. I want to start with educational leader because you do so much video content, and I don't know how you do it. It's amazing. But would you be able to share with our viewers today a little bit about your story and what your current role is in education?
Sure. So yeah, you're right. I am an educational leader first and foremost. I am the principal at Plato Learning Academy here in my office right now. So I've been in education for about 15 years now, going on to 16, somewhere in there. You kind of lose track after a while.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, I am the founder of CW Consulting, where I host keynotes, I do workshops and consulting for companies. So that's a lot of fun. I've been doing that for a while. In fact, I have, there's a conference this weekend, the Equip to Achieve Summit. So that launches Thursday or Friday. And I've got the NAEP, I think it's the Diversity and Equity Conference at the end of the month, and then of course the Codebreaker Power Summit also at the end of this month. So,
oh my gosh, you're busy.
Yeah, lots going on. Also the host of the Counter Narrative podcast and co-host of Inside the Principal's Office, which is an edu show that I run through School Rubric. So very exciting.
Yes. Yeah, you do so much, and everything you do speaks to educators, no matter if they are future teachers to administrators and everybody in between. Your content is it's just so approachable and tangible. And I don't know, I always really enjoy listening to you and all the stuff that you have to share and all the different platforms, which is fantastic. Yeah. So Charles, as a principal, I'm sure you see lots of applications and resumes come across your desk from future candidates. So if you could share with our viewers today, what are some ways to help them stand out from that stack of other teacher candidates all applying for that same job?
So I know this may sound a little cliche-ish, but I think one of the first things is if you did something a little bit differently, right? When I'm looking at a piece of paper, it's really hard to tell what there is about you. And with technology today, there are so many ways that you could go above and beyond that piece of paper. Right. So if there's a link or a QR code where I could see you in action, or I could talk to you, right? You have a pre-recorded video. I want to see you, right? I want to get to know you a little bit because you could write whatever on a piece of paper, and truth is most people have the same things. I can't tell one from the other.
Right.
So for me, that would be something that stood out, because not only am I getting to see you, but you're also showing me like you know how to incorporate things a little bit differently, which I'm going to assume you're going to do the same thing in your classroom. So, that's a little bonus right away.
I love that. And I think so often we might feel as teacher candidates to go the safe route and just do Times New Roman size 12 font. That's it. Template done.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the QR code. And the introduction video sounds really cool. Did a teacher candidate do that on a resume or?
No, but I would love to see it.
And it's so easy to do now with QR codes. You can pop those on your resume and send them out to your digital portfolio, to your professional learning network, your professional social accounts, to show all the cool stuff that you're doing in education and throughout your career. I think that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we get flooded with them. So anything to get you to stand out. And I would recommend going that route.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, whenever I graduated college, this whole idea of interviewing was kind of like a mystery that you had to find out on your own, and you had to go through it to figure it out. So from application to signing the contract, can you walk us through what does the interview process look like? Like, what can we expect as teacher candidates going into from application? We got called in for a first round, maybe a second or third round, and hey, we got the job, let's sign that contract. So what does that look like?
It varies from school to school. In fact, we just talked about this on one of the shows I was doing, and an idea came out. And so just as a hint for a teacher candidate, if you propose this, again, it's a way to stand out. But it goes above and beyond that typical 90-minute interview, right, where I'm talking to you, I go and watch you do a demo lesson, and then it's it, right? Like, go above and beyond that, because what I really want to be able to see is, who are you in this building? And to be honest, and I think teacher candidates, you need to understand this, is it's not just about me getting to know you, but you need to get to know me and the school, and is it a good fit for you? Don't just jump into a job just to get a job. I know it may be tempting with student loans and whatnot, but do not just jump into the first job. So inquire about the possibility of spending a day, a half a day, right? Like sit with the kids at lunch, right? Because those are the things I want to see, because I guarantee you the lesson that you're going to show me is a lesson that you've been working on. You've perfected, you've curated, which is great. But are you going to do that every day, all the time, right? Probably not. And I know that, and you know that. So let me see you in your natural environment, interacting with staff members, interacting with students. Those are the things. And I think that as a candidate, ask for that, right? In a typical approach, you're going to have that. You're going to have the quick interview. You're going to do your demo lesson, right? You might do a second interview, but good interviews are going to be a little more than that. On top of that, you may have an opportunity to meet with students, with various staff members, with parents, again, if they're good interviews. So be prepared, right? Don't just be ready to speak to the principal or the leader of the school. Be ready to talk to different groups and be able to curate your responses to those groups, because whatever you say to me wouldn't be what you say to a student who asks you a question. So definitely be ready for those different parties.
I think that's so interesting. I love the idea of going in and observing or being a part of that school day for a half day or anything like that. I actually talked about that last night with Hunter Flesh from the Ed Essentials podcast. He was on a live last night. I'm like, that's so amazing. I love this idea. So if I was a teacher candidate and I was looking at some postings at your school, maybe you have them up already in April or May, and maybe it's an elementary position, and I wanted to go in and observe, what is the best way to ask that professionally?
Yeah. I'm all about being direct. So if I received an email or a phone call from a teacher candidate and said, hey, look, I'm interested in your school, I would love to come. And I think this would be a great way to do it. I would love to apply, but before I do, I would love to get to know your school a little more.
Yes.
Because now it's telling me, oh, you're taking an interest in the school. You want to make sure it's a good fit. You're not wasting either of our times. And I think if you take that approach, it's going to come off a lot better than just saying, hey, can I come and check out your school? Right? Like, I'm interested in you, but I want to get to know you, make sure we're a good fit for each other, before we begin the interview process. Plus, I'm that interview has already started. Like unofficially, it has started because now I'm thinking, I already have an idea about you. I'm going to watch you when you're in the school.
Yes.
And for me, at least, the interview has begun.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And when you go in for that observation or to shadow a teacher, introduce yourself to the principal, to the administrative assistant, to the teacher and the team. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I always tell people, you know, and you hear these stories, treat everybody well. You know, to be honest, one of the first people that you're going to come into contact with is my office manager. And I always ask, so how was it? You know, because I want to know, did they come in? Were they rude to you? Or did they communicate? And if they are, then that tells me you're putting on a show for me. And I don't want you to put on a show, because when you're here every day, we're a family. And I need to know that you're going to be interacting and communicating and getting along with everybody from the custodian to the AP, like everyone. I need to know that. And so you are on the moment you walk through the building.
Absolutely. For your interview, from the time you leave your car to the time you hop back in, you are on an interview. Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned earlier finding a good fit for you and not just signing a contract just because a contract is offered to you. And I know that feeling is real. You want that job before fall. You might take something, you know, you have those student loans. You might take something that may not be a really great fit, but like, oh, I really want a job. I have to have a job. So what would you say to those teacher candidates out there who maybe have a contract floated by them and like, well, I don't, what if something else happens? Or what if I get another interview somewhere else? Should I sign this one? What should I do? It's a weird, sticky spot to be in. So what advice do you have for that group of listeners today?
Yeah. So, and again, I believe in being honest. Like if you have a contract and you're wondering if you should sign it, that's a flag, right? Like you should feel great. Like you should be like, yeah, no, this is the place for me.
Yes.
So I definitely say, like, if you're like that in itself could be a flag. You know, I would recommend, and this kind of going back before you even get the contract, flip the interview. We love to talk about our schools, or I should say good leaders should love to talk about their schools. So ask us all those questions, and not the typical, like, you know, end of interview, I have my 2 questions lined up. Like, probe me, ask me about what's working, what's not working, what I feel, why am I here? Why am I still here at the school? And you're going to get a better idea of what this school is and whether or not it's a good fit for you. And just to be honest, if you're thinking, maybe I need to go find someplace else, then continue that search, because it means that whatever you have in front of you isn't what's for you. But do it for the right reasons, right? Because I'll be honest, the teachers in my building, we can't compare financially with like the district. So there's schools down the street where teachers are getting paid way more. But we have built a culture and a climate in this building that is almost unbeatable, right? And so that other school may say, hey, we can offer you another 10 grand. And you're like, ooh, that sounds nice. But are you going to be happy there? Is it going to fit you? Or are you going to dread every single day to make that extra 10 grand?
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So many gems in that one question. I love it. And you gave us some great interview questions to ask at the end of that interview. When you're asked, do you have any questions? Don't just sit there and say, nope, see ya. Have some good quality questions, something you can't find online, and definitely ask the interview panel, why do you choose to come back to school each year? Why are you teaching in this position for almost 16 years. Yeah, and I think that's so important because you get an idea of the climate and the culture in that school and how, if it's a collaborative culture as well, because that's important too, especially for new teachers.
Absolutely.
So one final thing I wanted to talk about, after we get our interviews all done and hopefully we get a contract, we're feeling awesome about that contract. We're like, yes, we got this. We're entering August. We're going to fast forward a couple months. We're going to just hop in the DeLorean and just go fast forward.
There we go.
So it's our first year, first day. What is one piece of advice you have for brand new teachers, hopefully teaching face-to-face in the fall? What's one piece of advice that you have for them?
Accept that things may not go according to plan. And I say that because, I think a lot of times we come in and we're like, yes, my room is Pinterest ready. I've got this amazing lesson, right? Like, and then school happens, right? And this is for day one. This is for day 180. This is for 5 years down the road. Like, you can be the best prepared that you can possibly be, and school happens. It's life. So go in prepared to be flexible. And the one thing I always tell people is don't take things personally, right? When things kind of mess up, it's okay. That's life. It's going to happen. So don't kind of shoulder it all. Don't take it personally, right? And we talk a lot about those areas of control. There's a lot of things outside of your control. And if you focus on all of those things, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yes.
So focus on that small area that's important, and that small area that you have control of, that little tiny area, and you're going to be okay. And just have some fun. We talk a lot about relationships and building rapport. In fact, right now I'm doing work with my teachers around CRT, and really talking about the brain-based portions of this. And, it's really like, there's science behind it. It's not just like a feel-good, somebody thought about it one day, right? So spend that beginning, like, I know there's all these things like, oh, you come in and you hit, like, build those relationships, get to know your kids, let them get to know you. And I think that if you focus on trust, focus on building those relationships, not as an afterthought, then your school year is going to go a whole lot easier. Instead of hitting curriculum and then saying, okay, now I'll get to know you. Like, no.
Right.
So I know you asked for one thing. That was a lot of things.
That was perfect. And can I just say, it's April and you're still talking about relationships. I love how it's not just a first week, first day thing, check off the box. It's maintaining, it's repairing, it's re-engaging those relationships after long breaks, or, if the child's been home for a while, re-engaging those relationships no matter where we are teaching. It's so important. It's so important. Yeah. My good friend, Dr. Heather Michelle, she shares relationships first, procedures second, content third. I was like, oh, yes, we all need that, like, as a sticky note somewhere near our computer. Always reconnect with those students. Always.
And I hope for your future teachers that your administrator follows that, because it's really hard when they don't. And so we know what's best, and then it's not happening. So again, make sure you ask those questions, because otherwise you're going to find yourself in a bad spot.
And that's questions you can ask during the interview as well, especially about mentoring. What's your mentor program for new teachers? What support do you have for new teachers? Maybe even if you want to go and get a graduate degree, asking about that as well. How do you support further education?
Yeah, I mean,
all those things. This is awesome.
I told you, I could talk. I mean, I would love to connect with your students some more, because we talk a lot about this in the beginning, and then it kind of goes away. And then for some reason, you get these disgruntled educators who are like, oh, I wish education, like, it can be, but we forget about those things. So let's start off with that, and then just carry it through.
Yes, I'm loving this. Charles, you're fantastic. I love chatting with you, and I'm so glad you're able to take some time to chat. Before we end our conversation, can you share about your podcast, The Counter Narrative?
Yeah, so the podcast, it's almost a year old next month. But, I started it because I got tired of all the negative conversations, right? I've spent these last 15, 16 years in urban education, and all I would hear about are the gaps. Right? Black and brown students aren't doing this. They're not. But I was like, there's a lot of amazing stories. Why aren't we talking about those? It was like, unless it was some type of athletic championship, like, we don't talk about it. So I really wanted to capitalize on challenging the dominant and often negative narrative that's out there. And one of the best things about this is that I've even stumbled into areas that I never thought about. We've talked about rural education and the stigmas around that. We've talked about like body image and things like that. I just had a conversation with Mike, which we took a deep dive into brain-based learning, and he was talking about, with IEPs and behavior, and he was like, this is the reality of it. And you're just sitting there like, whoa. So what started as a personal kind of journey to say we're going to fight back has really allowed me to grow and understand things a lot better. So it has been phenomenal. You can find it. It comes out every week, and you can find it everywhere. So feel free to take a listen. Make sure you subscribe or like. I don't know how these things go. I just do it for fun.
Yeah. So you can find the Counter Narrative podcast over on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all the places.
Yeah, all the places.
Yes. Oh. And you also have a video show. That sounds really old school. The way I said that. What do I call that? A vlog?
So they called it an edu show. It's called Inside the Principal's Office. It started off really as a space for school leaders to come together and having a safe space to grow and to connect and learn from one another. And so it's really nice to kind of break down those barriers and just being transparent.
Awesome. Charles, thank you so much. This has been a blast. Thank you so much for joining me and chatting all about interviews, standing out from that stack of resumes. And we got into some other bonus stuff too. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Sam.
All right, friends. We'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye for now.
And there you have it, EduMagicians. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. For more EduMagic, check out sfessage.com and follow Dr. Sam on Twitter and Instagram @sfessage. Until next time, you have the EduMagic within you.